10:08. It is Wednesday. I will call to order the meeting of Maryland National Park Planning Commission, June 12th, 2024. Mr. Adams, could you call the rolls, please?
Chair Shapiro.
Here.
Commissioner Bailey.
Here.
Commissioner Dorner.
Here.
Vice Chair Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Hedrick.
Here.
Commissioner Pedowing.
Here.
Confirming Commissioners Giraldo, Washington, currently Bartley, and Linden are currently absent.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum.
That's 6. That makes quorum.
Briefly, a motion to approve the commission agenda and the commission minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second. I second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bailey, a second by Commissioner Hedrick. Is there no discussion of the motion? Mr. Adams, call the roll, please.
Chair Shapiro.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Pedowing.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Right, we will, before we get quickly to action presentation items, just a reminder that we're closed next Wednesday for Juneteenth. Also, Vice Chair Harris will be Chair Harris starting for the next meeting. So we'll have a very fancy gavel exchange and lots of pomp and circumstance, or not. But in any case, just to remind you all that transition is happening as of the next meeting. Under item 4, committee and board reports, that's just for our information. And item 5, action presentation items. We've got 5 action items. We'll start with 5A, resolution 0617A, modifying commission resolution 06-17, land exchange agreement in Patuxent River. Mr. Sun, anything you have to bring to us on this, or is this a technical issue that we just need to take action on?
Good morning, Chair Shapiro, fellow planning board members. For the record, my name is Paul Sun, Land Specialist for the Department of Parks and Recreation. We don't have really much to add as the information was in your packet, but I just wanted to reiterate that this is a rework of the former resolution from 2006. Our team and the city of Bowie are very excited that we could finally reach a consensus on this land exchange agreement. In the basic terms, that this is a no consideration, even land exchange. That's all I have. We're available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Sun. Want to thank you for all of your hard work on this, as always. Commissioners, if there are no questions for staff on this item, I would look for a motion.
I move to approve the resolution 06-17A, modifying the M-NCPPC resolution 06-17 land exchange in Patuxent River Park.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Chair Harris, a second by Commissioner Dorner. If there's no discussion on the motion, Mr. Adams, please call the roll.
Chair Shapiro.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Pedowing.
Aye.
6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. I made a mistake, not a mistake, but a correct. Thank you, Mr. Sun, by the way. Ms. Borden or somebody from legal, maybe you could advise too. We will not be going into closed session today. So do we need to do anything related to the agenda and the agenda that we approved?
You should officially amend the agenda to remove the closed session. So just have a vote to amend the agenda in that fashion.
Okay, all right. So we will not be going into closed session. I would look for a motion to amend the agenda to remove the closed session.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Dorner, a second by Commissioner Pedowing. And if there's no discussion on the motion, the short of it is Mr. Spencer is still a work in progress. Leave it at that. Mr. Adams, if there's no discussion, Mr. Adams, if you could call the roll, please.
Chair Shapiro.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway,
Aye.
6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to budget items with Ms. Charles. We'll begin with 5B, Resolution 24-11, adoption of the FY 2025 Commission operating and capital budgets. Ms. Charles, good morning. Happy Wednesday, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, all. And for the record, I'm Terry Bacode Charles, the Corporate Budget Director. I'm before you today to ask for your favorable consideration for the adoption of the FY 2025 Commission's operating and capital budget via the Resolution 24-11. In its aggregate, it provides expenditure authority totaling $1.115 billion and authorizes 2,780 positions and 3,937 work years. As you will recall, we submitted proposed budgets, both operating and capital, to the respective county executives nearly 5 months ago, January 15th, and we participated in each county's review process, including a joint council session on May 9th for the bi-county cast portion. On May 23rd, both county councils concluded their process and provided approval for the FY 2025 budgets before you today. Specifically, as provided within Resolution 24-11 and its supporting documents, which are before you, Exhibit A displays the adopted actions taken by Montgomery County to adjust the Commission's proposed budget to total $308,199,528, including reserves and transfers, and that authorizes 1,112.48 positions and nearly 1,153 work years for FY 2025. I will just very briefly provide a quick high-level summary of the funds that were adjusted. Greater detail of the specific actions can be found on pages 3 through 5 of the accompanying memo. The administration fund was reduced by nearly $2 million to $45.7 million. That mark provides a 9% increase over the current year and represents 95.9% of the Commission's requests. The Park Fund was reduced by $2.8 million to nearly $144.9 million. That is a 7% increase over the current year and represents 98.1% of the Commission's requests. Both the Advanced Land Debt Service and revolving funds were upwardly adjusted to reflect a positive change in assessable base, making $85,000 more available. The debt service fund was adjusted to reflect the timing of the bond sale, which was a reduction of $60,000. And lastly, the capital projects fund was increased by nearly $5.5 million to a total of $63.6 million, which is nearly a 22% increase over the current year. Now moving to Exhibit B, that displays the adopted actions taken by Prince George's County to adjust the Commission's proposed budget, which now totals $720,973,048. It authorizes 1,658.5 positions and about 2,775 work years. Again, at a quick high-level summary of the funds that were adjusted, the greater detail of the specific actions can be found on pages 5 and 6 of the accompanying memo. The administration fund was reduced by nearly $9.8 million to a total of $107.1 million. With that reduction, the increase year over year still remains at 53%, or 91.6% of the Commission requests. The Park Fund was increased by nearly $1 million to $232.5 million, and that reflects the change in the assessable base. So the year-over-year change for that fund is 14% increase. The Recreation Fund was increased by $11 million to nearly $147.9 million, and that represents a 22% increase over the current year. The Capital Project Fund was increased by $11.2 million to a total of $142.5 million, and that is an increase of almost 5% over the current year. The Enterprise Fund was also increased by $370,000 to support the International Horse Show. It now totals $17 million, which is nearly a 13% increase over the current year budget. And then the last fund adjustment to share is the Largo headquarters building. It was reduced by 10 million. And so its budget for FY25 is 36.8 million. Also included in your package today is Exhibit C, which provides the commission-wide funds that total 86,740,116, almost made it through all of the numbers, and were not adjusted by council actions. It also provides the overall aggregate totals for all of the funds. That completes my presentation of the materials for the adoption of the FY 2025 Commission's operating and capital budgets. And I also like to take the opportunity to thank all who have had a hand in getting us to this very point.
Great.
Thank you, Ms. Charles. There may be questions for commissioners. Before we go there, I just want to say one thing. I just want to give you a huge shout out for stepping in, coming on board relatively late in this process and doing an incredible amount of work. The learning was tough, and you really stepped up. So let me say, on behalf of all of us, let me just say thank you for the incredible job that you did. It is noted and appreciated.
Yep,
So, Commissioner's question. I'm sorry, Mr. Harris.
Yeah, I said I also echo your praise and for all the work Ms. Charles has done coming in late in the game, and so we appreciate that.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? We have the backup of all the information in the packet. I know there's been a lot of discussions over many months, but we are at that point. Any questions for Ms. Charles? Seeing none, I would look for a motion.
I move to approve the budget for FY25, both capital and operating. Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Pettaway, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Mr. Adams, if you could call the roll, please.
Chair Shapiro.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey.
But aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway.
Aye.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Next is item 5C, also Ms. Charles, FY 2024 budget adjustment for bi-county programs.
Again, I sit before you now to ask for your favorable consideration for agenda item C, an FY24 budget adjustment for the following departments within Central Administrative Services. That would be the Department of Human Resources and Management, the Department of Finance, Legal Department, and the Office of the Inspector General. As the fiscal year nearly closes, we continue to review budgetary spending and have identified current year salary savings totaling $1,050,000 and seek to request your approval to transfer these unexpended funds to the Commission-wide IT Initiative Fund. If approved, these funds will be utilized in support of the ERP upgrade. As noted here, DHRM has available $400,000, Finance has $500,000, and $75,000 is available from both legal and the Inspector General. And again, these funds would be used to pre-fund the ERP upgrade project. The savings accrued due to staff attrition and delays in filling vacant positions, and will be apportioned according to the county funding split. Again, if approved, the ERP project will be able to have available a balance of $6.4 million. And of course, with the addition of this million, this will adjust the future payments beyond FY25 on the financing schedule. That completes my summary of today's request. And I will end by saying I do anticipate returning yet again for further requests to reallocate FY24 savings.
Thank you. Of course. Commissioners, I think this is a smart way to reallocate funds for the ERP project, but let's open it up for any questions for Ms. Charles. No
I
questions?
fully support. I fully support. I think this is a very smart move. The ERP would be expensive, and this is a great way to provide some support for the payment of the ERP. I think it's a
Thank you.
great idea, and thank you.
Well said. If there's no further questions, I would look for a motion.
I move to approve the budget transfer for FY24 as requested.
I second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Pettaway, a second by Vice Chair Harris. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Mr. Adams, could you call the roll, please?
Chair Shapiro,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey,
But aye.
Commissioner Dorner,
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris,
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway.
Aye.
6-0, motion passes.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Charles.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
We have two final items on our agenda, action items. We will not, there are no need for any officers. Yes, Vice Chair Harris.
Yeah, but quick. So is there time for you to come back for additional changes before the fiscal year end? When, like the next board meeting, would it be like an emergency board meeting? But the next board meeting is in July. So I'm just wondering, just checking the timing of how you'll be able to come back for requesting additional transfers.
Again, it's my understanding that when you're making a request to basically, like we just did, transfer funds to another fund for future use, that we can make those until the books are truly closed. And as you know, it takes 1 or 2 months to do that. We will not in any way be backdating transactions to within the fiscal year. It's not one of those kind of situations. It would be just setting the money aside, and then of course we would have to appropriate the use of those funds and at another point in time, if you will. So it's basically transferring the available funds for future use, not to be expended in the current fiscal year, because to your point that the year is growing to a close.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Could you just really confirm? I guess I'm new to this, but just making sure. I thought they had to be sort of spent by, but can you just check and get back to it? Just make. I just want to make sure there's no hiccups, that it really can be done, and if we have to have some emergency meeting or something like that, that we do that. Okay.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, item 5D, we have Ms. Harvin, Mr. Beckham for items 5D and E. Ms. Harvin, turn it to you.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Tracy Harvin, Corporate Policy and Management Operations Director. And I have with me today our Policy Manager, Michael Beckham. And we are before you to get your approval of some clarifications to our merit system rules and regulations. And Mr. Beckham will take you through these items, but I will tell you they are pretty straightforward. And you can find them at circle page 7 in your packet, but they are also, as you can see, displayed on the screen. Mr. Beckham?
Yes, thank you, Tracy. Michael Beckham, Corporate Policy and Archives Chief for the record. This item is on circle page 31 of the packet, but also up on the screen share. And as it was mentioned, these are rather straightforward. We're asking for approval from the Commission on a set of 3 clarifications to the merit system rules and regulations. And these are the employment policies for non-represented employees and are only applicable to represented employees if they're approved by the respective collective bargaining units. The first one is to reflect in the merit system rules that for park police officers hired on or after July 1, 2017, that their anniversary date will be 12 months after completing the academy. And then also for advanced entry officers, their anniversary date will be based on their date of hire. The second clarification is regarding premium pay. When the merit system rules and regulations were issued and implemented, I don't think that telework was very prominent, and we need to address the situation that we have essential employees who are required to work during an emergency, but not all essential employees need to work on site. And so we want to clarify that except for work performed on a commission holiday, essential employees who telework during a declared emergency, they are not entitled to premium pay. That these employees would receive their regular rate of pay during the emergency. However, essential employees who are required to work on site, they would continue to be entitled to premium pay, whether or not that time is worked during their regular work week or not. And then the third clarification is just to simply reflect in the merit system rules that the agency, the commission, has approved Juneteenth as a holiday, and so that will be reflected in the merit system rules and regulations. And again, we ask for the commission's approval on these clarifications.
Thank you, Mr. Beckham. Commissioners, any questions on these items?
I'm just trying to understand the premium pay again. Could you explain? I didn't get how it is distinguished for telework. So if someone is teleworking on a regular day and they have to come to on-site, they are not entitled for premium pay. Is that correct?
The way you laid it out is someone was teleworking on their regular day and they were required to come on site. I believe that the way that it happens in the agency is employees have scheduled telework days. If there's an emergency to come in, employees who are required to come on site, they would receive premium pay. However, if an employee is scheduled to telework, even an essential employee who's required to telework and remain at home, they would not be entitled to premium pay. We want to provide premium pay only to those essential employees who have to leave their home and come to the workplace.
And who are those people? I thought that essential employees are, if you just give an example, that what
Sure.
you mean by that, because I'm a little bit confused to understand the first sections that you're saying.
Of course, and I can explain that essential employees are employees who need to work or are required to work during a declared emergency. So if there's a weather event or if there's some type of issue that happens where we need staff on site or to work, period, those employees are required to work. However, we do have some essential employees who are required to work. However, during a declared emergency, they are not required to come on site. And an example is Mr. Jim Adams, who is our technical writer. He provides services during snow emergencies where he helps create the all-staff message and put up the alert on the webpage that the agency will either be delayed or closed. And so he is required to work during those hours. However, he is not required to come on site.
I know, but if someone that is essential employee and is teleworking, if they make them to come to work, we're going to pay them premium pay?
To be clear, if an employee is required to come to work and they're essential, yes, they would receive premium pay. However, if they're a teleworker and they're required to work during the emergency, they would only receive their regular rate of pay.
So
Typically
Commissioner,
telework. Yeah, thank you, Tracy.
Yeah, I'm confused. Seriously, I don't understand the difference.
So Commissioner, the way this was envisioned was, for example, if there is a terrible snowstorm, right?
Yeah.
And those individuals will have to leave the comfort of their homes because they have essential functions that they perform for the agency. So they have to come out. They would have typically received and will still typically receive a premium. Whereas in the wake of the pandemic, many functions are now performed at home. And so just using the example that Mr. Beckham gave, again, with the technical writer who has to still work, right, to promulgate notices about the closings. However, that employee does not have to leave the comfort of his home to, battle the snow to come into the office. So as a result, in that situation, that employee would not receive a premium rate of pay because he is not dealing with the terrible conditions that the other employees who actually do have to come out have to deal with. So this is just simply to clarify because teleworking has become so ubiquitous that if you are working and the commission is closed because of, again, a snowstorm, you are not going to receive a premium rate of pay. However, if you do have to leave your home to come to the workplace to perform a function, then yes, you will still continue to receive
Okay,
that rate of pay.
got it. So this is like before, we used to pay before the premium pay regardless, and now we are clarifying that the only people that would getting the premium pay are the ones that actually have to come and
That's correct.
work.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
I
That's
got
right.
it. I couldn't understand that. That's fair. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, other questions, commissioners, on this item? We're on 5D. If there are no other questions, and then I would look for a motion.
I move to approve the merit rules as described.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Pettaway, a second by Commissioner Bailey on item 5D in our agenda. If there's no discussion on the motion, Mr. Adams, if you could call the roll, please, and you will not be getting premium pay for calling the roll.
I am crushed. Chair Shapiro,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner,
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris,
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway.
Aye.
6-0, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, item 5E in our agenda, Ms. Harvin, Mr. Beckham.
Yes, well, with this item, we are asking for your approval to amend, again, our merit system rules and regulations. In the amendment would provide parity between employees, and Mr. Beckham will get into more details with that.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. So as it was mentioned, this is regarding the leave status programs, specifically family and medical leave. So in the merit system rules and regulations, currently employees who have a spouse are treated the same let me start over. Currently under the merit system rules and regulations, employees with a spouse who also works for the agency, they are required to share leave benefits, specifically for parental leave and care for an ill parent, and then also for the care of a military member. It's called military caregiver leave. So under the federal regulations, as a default, employees, they share these 12 weeks for parental responsibilities and care for a parent, and then 26 work weeks for military caregiver leave. And what we are asking for the commission's approval on is to treat these employees as individuals so that they would each receive 12 work weeks for parental responsibilities and care for a parent, and then also 26 work weeks for military caregiver leave. The Merit System Board and the department heads support these proposed amendments. We have shared these with non-represented employees for a 30-day comment period. And with the commission's approval, we will finalize and promulgate these regulations. To give a little bit more background on why this is coming to you, earlier in the calendar year, Montgomery Parks inquired about what is the entitlement for employees who have a spouse that works for the agency. And the answer is that the federal law only entitles employees to a shared 12 weeks of parental leave and care for a parent when they have a spouse that also works for the agency. And then the employee also shares 26 work weeks with their spouse who would work for the agency to care for a military caregiver. However, the federal law does allow employers to provide greater benefits than the base provided by the federal law. And so we have presented these proposed amendments to the Merit Board and to department heads and staff, and we are asking for the commission's approval on these changes. During the comment period, 5 comments were received in support of the amendments. 1 comment recommended greater benefits, specifically 26 work weeks for parental leave benefits. Staff do not recommend any further amendments to the proposal. Department heads supported the 12 work weeks for parental responsibilities. This is on par with the amount of leave that is given to employees who work for the state. For comparison, Prince George's County provides 15 work weeks for parental responsibilities. And then Montgomery County provides 18 work weeks of leave for parental responsibilities. And I want to emphasize that this is job protection leave where the employee would use either their own accrued leave or unpaid leave, where this isn't addressing paid leave, which you all may be familiar with, that the state of Maryland has approved paid family leave. And the agency is currently awaiting implementation of those regulations that are expected to be promulgated this summer. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and we ask for the commission's vote of approval.
Thank you, Mr. Beckham. Commissioners, questions for staff on this item? No questions. All right. Thank you all very much. And commissioners, I'd look for a motion.
Move to
I
approve.
move. Yeah, go.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Dorner. Is there a second?
Second, Bailey.
Second by Commissioner Bailey. If there's no discussion on the motion, Mr. Adams, please call the roll.
Chair Shapiro,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey,
But I.
Commissioner Dorner,
But I.
Vice Chair Harris,
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms.
Thank you.
Harvin, Mr. Beckham, thank you for all your work on these issues, and thank you for your presentation. Commissioners, we have the officers' reports for your information. I don't think there's any presentation associated with those, nor from our general counsel as well. So, and again, we are not going into closed
One second,
session.
Mr. Chair. Sorry,
Yes.
we did want to close the loop on the ethics question that we had
yes,
when we
thank you.
presented the ethics code. Wes, are you on? There you are.
I am present.
And I
Okay.
think this was specifically in response to Commissioner Dorner and Commissioner Pettaway's questions that we had at the last meeting, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, good morning, Wes Anneton, for the record. So yes, as was stated, this is a brief update on the ethics policy to close the loop on the questions presented. I believe it was during the April full commission meeting, specifically concerning language on the restricted parties paragraph in the gift section, and then the contents of statements paragraph in the financial disclosures section. So I'll start with the gift section.
This was the MML MACO references, right?
Absolutely, yes, sir. So in that section of the ethics policy, the definition of restricted external party now includes specific language, and that language is an association or entity acting on behalf of an association which is engaged only in representing counties or municipal corporations. And as you were just saying, Chair, the language that was added pursuant to guidance from the State Ethics Commission. And that terminology, as you just heard, does not specifically reference MACO or MML. It does not. But what it is doing is that language is to cover those two entities or similar entities. And the reason that language was added to cover those entities is because of their role as an advocate for counties and municipalities. And the State Ethics Commission does view them as similar to controlled donors, or as we call them in our policy, restricted external parties. So I'll pause there if there are any questions. So we don't specifically mention them in our policy, but we do have language to cover those two entities and entities that are similar to them because of the nature of the entities.
Right. All right, commissioners,
Okay.
any questions for staff on this item? And appreciate you coming back for the clarification, of course.
I was one of the ones who had questions before, but no, this is good. I appreciate the further investigation and the clarifications and just follow up on it. So thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure, for sure. And the other quick piece, just because there was one specific mention, this is the University of Maryland Medical System, UMMS. That is specifically mentioned in the financial disclosure section. It does require disclosure of information or interest pertaining to financial or contractual relationships with UMMS specifically. So unlike the previous paragraph, this does specifically mention them. And the reason it does, the guidance that I received from the State Ethics Commission was because, or the reason to expressly include that entity is because of the nature and the size of UMMS, and to account for whether a filer does have a job with UMMS or has a contract with them. The financial disclosure section does mention state agencies, state entities, or quasi-governmental entities, but it did want to expressly include UMMS to clearly state that, hey, we need financial disclosure for that entity, for relationships. But that is the extent of the explanation given to me by the State Ethics Commission. But it does stand to reason, given the nature and the size of UMMS.
Wes, wouldn't you have to disclose it anyways? Like even without the specific reference to them, it would still be required, just a little bit redundant, right?
Yeah, it would be required, but I believe, at least what my understanding in speaking with them, is because it is not necessarily clear to all, and so they want to make it abundantly clear that UMMS is you are required to disclose that. So you're right. Maybe a little redundant, but it's definitely the intent is to make it abundantly clear.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. There are no further questions on this item, and thank you all for coming back to us and addressing these issues. We are finished with item 6 in our agenda. Items 6. Again, we amended the agenda to not have a closed session. So with that, there's no further business before us. Then with that objection, I will adjourn the meeting. And I want to thank everybody for your time and efficiency. And we will see you all in a month with a new chair.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.